We are
Okay,
live.
okay, so we are live. Good evening to everyone else. And I would like to introduce our guest speaker for our second session on the Moot Masterclass on research. And he is Mr. Sankalp Malik, and he has completed his BA from Amity University, and he is currently practicing in the Delhi High Court. I would like all of you to know that he has been a very prolific mooter in his college days, and he has participated in the William C. Wiss International Moot Court Commercial Arbitration Competition. And he has also been the winner of the B.R. Ambedkar National Moot Court Competition organized by Jogendra Chandra Chanduri Law College, affiliated with the University of Calcutta. He was also the runner-up in the National Moot Court competition organized by Himachal Pradesh University Institute of Legal Studies in 2017, and his team received the Best Memorial Award in the National Trial Advocacy competition conducted by the School of Law, Dehradun. So I'm sure that all of you guys will learn a lot from his session, and he'll let you know about how to conduct specific research on legal platforms. So, sir, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Devraj, for the introduction. I hope I'm capable of all the good things that you stated about me. And I would also like to take this opportunity to share whatever little I know. Because whatever we learned when we were in law school, we were also in the same position where I believe most of the viewers sitting here are, and they would also have the same question. Friends, mooting is a very integral part of your law school foundation, and it's, I say, an integral part because it shows you whether you like arguing, whether you like researching, whether litigation is your field, or whether you would want to go into corporate. When you analyze all things by practice, by partaking in moot, you understand where you need to be and you shape your future. This is the broad analysis of your law school and things that you put in there. The topic that has been given to me is...
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Your voice is cracking a little bit, so would you mind rejoining?
I'll do that. Is it better now?
No, sir. A
I'll,
bit
I'll,
of a hoarse voice is coming from your mic.
I'll rejoin back. I'll rejoin back.
Okay, so everyone just hold on for a minute. Sir will be rejoining, and he'll be talking about specific legal platform research, because we all know what research is. We learned that in the first session, but in the second session, we need to understand how to conduct the research on specific legal platforms, which ma'am in the previous sessions pointed out that you have to only uphold the specific standards of the courts, which are Manupatra and SCC. We can't use any other lower level of legal research sources. So we also need to understand how to conduct the research on these specific legal platforms. There are ways where we can achieve better results if we follow those tricks or tips while conducting these researches. So sir is back, and he'll be letting you know on how to conduct this research.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
It's perfectly fine now.
Hello? Can
Yes, sir.
anybody hear me?
Yeah. Your voice is perfectly all right.
Yeah, so let's come back. I believe there was some technical glitch at my end. So coming back to the topic, mooting is a very crucial and a very integral process in your law school career. It will not only tell you what you like, rather it will tell you what you don't like. And in that process of mooting, you will not only understand and learn the nuances of law, and you take a first step towards litigation. I say that with my experience that I'm a litigating lawyer today, but the skills that I learned during mooting, including researching, presenting my arguments, speaking to the judges confidently, I owe it to moot court competitions. So, without further ado, I would restrict my submissions and my seminar today to the topic which is given to me, research. Why is legal research important is a question which I would like to ask all the people who are here in this session and who are watching this video. A research, or rather I would say a good research, is important because whatever submissions you're making before your court, when you go for a moot court competition, or in the future when you go before a judge, whatever submissions you're going to make, you need to back it up by evidence and or by law. What do I mean by law? That, my lords, in this case, something had been held which is squarely applicable in my case, and that precedent on the rule of consistency is to be followed. And when you tell the court that something had already been dealt, or had been discussed, or had been allowed, or had been taken into consideration at least, or not taken into consideration, while adjudicating something against you, you will be able to assist the court in coming to a rightful conclusion which aligns with the claim of your client. Now, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to take you to Manupatra. The screen is open. I hope my screen is visible. If somebody could just mention that in the chat box and I'll proceed ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is the screen when you enter into Manupatra. And my friends, what do you see on top? It is my home. It is Manu search, it is legal search, it is citation search and assisted search, and so on and so forth. Let's start with the very basic. But before we get there, before we know what to research, we need to know the facts of our case. They should be there in your memory. You should understand what the law is, what the question of fact is, what the question of law is, and what do you need to find. So, for example, let's take a proposition of phone tapping, that there is a case under the Prevention of Corruption Act where a public servant is alleged that he had taken some bribe for a matter, and now that is the sole evidence against him, and because of which a case under the Prevention of Corruption Act has now been initiated. The only evidence against him is the phone tapping, and that is being used against your client. What would be your defense in such a circumstance? Your defense in such a circumstance, or as a good lawyer, you would suggest your client that this is in violation of your privacy and whether that phone tapping is correct or not. But before you tell your client, or before you make a submission in the court, or before you vehemently write anything, even in a submission, a word in the submission as well, you need to know the good law. When you have that proposition, finding that good law is the research part. And let me tell you, my friends, you will think of a case. The best, I would come back a step earlier than research, and I would say when you get a moot problem or a case, the best thing about it is thinking about the case. Thinking about what the matter is, thinking the pros and cons on your side, on the other side, and then you are able to analyze something. When you're able to analyze the point that this should be done something, when logically you think in a manner, in most of the cases you will understand that logic is only law. For an example, I'll give you an example. Under CRPC, when there is a seizure by police, there need to be two independent witnesses. Why are there two independent witnesses? So that the police can't implant any material while making a seizure. And that would be an illegal seizure. No, that is just logic. That it should be clean, it shouldn't be unbiased, and that is why there is law. Law is logic. So when you think about a case, you will come down to this proposition like I mentioned, which I'm going to take as an example. Example is alleged taking bribe, only evidence are the phone tapping. Now how to research? Coming to the question or the agenda at hand. First of all, before even getting to Manupatra, what you need to do, Google is your best friend. Why? Because it won't let you find the good law, but it will allow you to find so many articles, so many basic information which will give you a good kickstart after you've thought about the case, of course. So read the facts, understand the facts, imbibe the facts, think about the case, head to Google. Now, Google, let's say, tapping of mobile phone plus legality plus circumstances plus India. Now you have basic articles, you have basic laws.
So
You will then probably find a relevant law which applies. Let's say the Telegram or the Telegraph Act applies. Then you will come here, you will see, oh yes, they've always been mentioning about the Telegraph Act 1885. Now you've got an idea where the law applies. You've got an idea. After, of course, going through all these, you get a basic idea about what the law or what is the ideology or what are the opinions or what have the people said or what is the basic jurisprudence and XYZ. You get a kickstart out of it. Then you go to your search engines and there are many. Manupatra, SCC, Westlaw, Indian Qanun. And I will tell you where and how to use when. When do you use Manupatra? Till what extent do you use Manupatra? Till what extent do you use SCC? Do you use both? You don't use both? And I'm going to cover all these issues. And whenever you all have a problem or a query, please mention that in the chat box. And I would also request the moderators to allow you to speak, or they can themselves take up your questions so that your queries are resolved and this seminar can be actually of an effective use to you.
Yes, sir.
So coming to the first point, now you're on a Manu search, which is the screen before you. In the Manu search, you will see that there is a basic search box. There is a basic search selection here which says and or you choose auto, and there is one more light bulb sign here which contains the search tips. So first of all, I'll take you through that. How to look for a query. Let's say it's a normal query where you're trying to use, let's say, the board of directors and their voting rights. You're trying to search for that. You will strictly just mention board of directors and voting rights in the search column. You will find an aggregation of this which will contain both and some related search, but this will be a little wide-ended search. Now let's say you need something specific, right? Then you make a phase query, which means that you put your query in quotes. Then Manupatra and the search engine gets into the aspect of finding that exact term. Let's say a violation of fundamental rights, Article 19(1)(a), which is of freedom of speech and expression. So when you type that, freedom of speech and expression in quotes and violation of fundamental rights in quotes, you will find a relatable search. Then you can, when you utilize Manupatra, you can go through all these search examples of the types of search which can be made. There's an and or between the search. There's a negative keyword when you want to remove a search. Let's say you're just talking about child custody and it's not a case of divorce. But the topic of child custody is such that it most of the times forms an integral part of divorce cases. But you don't need that because you will end up finding thousands and thousands of cases. And naturally, as a lawyer, when you have a matter tomorrow and the client has just come to you in the evening, or let's say in a Moot proposition where you've got 15 days, reading 1,000 judgments is not a very smart way. So the art of research is being able to narrow down your research into finding specific case laws which might be relevant, cutting down your research into finding something relevant, and moving ahead. So let's start with that. The query or the search query which I placed for your consideration and for your assistance to understand was the PC Act example of the phone tapping. Let's take that only. Now here you will use tapping, tap, recording, records, and telegraph acts. Now, a lot of people might have this query or might not have this query, but I'll anyway clear it out. Why did I use the word tap and tapping, record and recording, and just the telegraph act without the comma and the ear? It is of much relevance. Because when there is a judgment, you will not know that the judge has used the term tapping or tap or recording or record. It can be anything. That is why when you put so many keywords, you find that. And why does the Telegraph Act, again, a judge might, while writing his judgment, would record Telegraph Acts. But it is not crucial that there would be that year of research, year of that act would be mentioned in that judgment. And when you in your search mention the year, you will exclude those judgments in which the judge has not used the complete year of the court. So let's say you start a search. You will find, then there is a search column here. Now I could research that because of my own practice makes your research perfect. For making your research, you need to keep on practicing and most importantly, have a lot of patience. Today, I stand at a position where I probably can research and get 7 results, which would be directly applicable to my case. But when you're making a research, how does a general person start? Let's say illegal tapping of phone. When you write this, let's see how many search results do you get. Now you've got 86 research terms. Now this is a case of tapping of phone tapping. You will find all those cases, but it might not directly be applicable to your case. Then how do you do that? How do you further narrow down your research? In the above column, you can see, now you've put this. Your search proposition is of a Telegraph Act. The question in your Moot problem is of, let's say, Section 5 of the Telegraph Act. Then you put in your search engine within search and results. That means in terms of these 86 cases only, you will try to find cases in which the Telegraph Act has been utilized. So when you put that term, now you've narrowed down from 78 judgments into 23 judgments. You've narrowed it down to 23 judgments. Now let's assume for a moment that these are the relevant judgments or the relevant cases which are applicable in your case. What do you do next? Now you've got a case. Would you click here on Manupatra on the name? No, please do not do that because it would take you back to the search result. It might open the judgment, but all your search would go. Then how do you look for a judgment? How do you open the page of a judgment? You see 3 columns here. One is an orange or a yellow circle. Second is this white box. And the third is a plus. Let's forget the plus sign. How do you open a judgment first? You go here, you open the document, and it opens in a new window where you can see the judgment and all of it is there on the page. You will get the civil appeal number. You will get the name of the case. You will get what acts are involved here, which is of much relevance while making your research. Because when you use a research, when you are researching, there might be laws which you're using. So when you read a judgment, it is necessary that you also go through what sections have been applied. Now I see that Section 5 of the Telegraph Act, as I wanted in this case, has been used here. These are the cases which have been referred here. And I would know then, and this also is very relevant when you're mooting or in a real case to know what all cases have been relied upon. Because when the other side comes and tells, my lords, there is this judgment, your alertness or your good research can be shown to the court by stating that that judgment had been considered in so and so judgment, which is state of Navjot Sandhu, and this judgment had been distinguished, my lords. And that will not only make the judge understand that you've done good research, that will also allow the judge to repose faith in your arguments by showing, yes, I can rely on whatever submissions are being made by the counsel. And when you do that in a moot court competition or in an actual court, if you won the trust of the court, I think half of the battle is already won. So you go here, you say, you will understand what all cases have been descended, how many cases have been mentioned, so on and so forth. There is a case note which contains the gist of the case. You read that, you will understand what is the case all about. Now, how do you save this search? How do you save this case law if you have to? You will see a lot of options here on your right where a lot of pointers have been, a lot of icons have been mentioned here. The first here is of an Adobe sign which is given. When you click this judgment, another tab opens where you can print or you can save it. Once you save it, the judgment gets saved with or without case note as the case may be. One important thing, my friends, what you got to understand is, please do not ever use a Manu citation. I hope my learned friends know what a citation is. If not, please ask me in the query in the chat box, and I will sort out your doubt, because it is very crucial to understand the correct citation and to understand how to put a citation. You see here on top of this judgment that there is this Manu SC 0465 2005. What is this? This is a Manu citation. But please do not ever rely upon a Manu citation even in a moot court competition, let alone in a court, because even in courts you cannot even put a Manu Patra judgment, for the very reason that Manu Patra judgments sometimes are not carrying the correct paragraphs which are actually there in the real judgment or as laid down by the judge. The judgment would be the same, but the para numbers might have shifted, and this disclaimer has also been given by the Manu Patra people itself in their act, and I will show you. Then which citation to use is a question. You see the citation here. When you click on this, you will be able to see that this link opens where you can see these citations. Now there are these journals. AIR is a journal. All these are journals. You use the journal which is most recognizable, which is SCC and AIR. If not, then there are other criminal law journals, which is CRILJ, Criminal Law Journal. And this shows that proper authentic journal copies are being used by you. Now coming back to the topic, that once you found your judgments here, how to go through them. Let's say you've got a lot of judgments. Let's say the case law, let's say the question of law is something where there are a catina of judgments in this case, and you can't narrow it down. How do you read the case fast? When you take your cursor near a judgment, you will be able to see these two arrows. And when you click on this arrow, you will be able to see what the judgment is all about. This is the case note, which is there in the judgment also. And by reading this, you will be able to understand whether this judgment is applicable in your case or is it not. This yellow dot here implicates that this judgment is current authority, is valid authority, is currently in operation. It has not been distinguished, it has not been repudiated by the Supreme Court, and it is valid law. And it is very crucial in a moot court competition or in a real judgment, and I cannot emphasize the importance of that, to use judgments which are only valid. Sometimes we find judgments which are overruled or which have been stayed by the Supreme Court or by the higher courts, and we rely on those judgments. We will cut a very sorry figure in court if we go with the judgment like that and we place reliance on that. Not only will the judge throw away our case, he will rather not, you will have to put much more emphasis and much more effort into then assisting the court in taking it to your own manner and towards your own benefit. This is the first search. This is the Manu search, and in the search you can do that. Then there is a third search column near each other. Let's say there is a search proposition which says that illegal notice and non-service. You're talking about a case where there was a notice which had to be mandatorily served upon you, which was not served, and that is illegal, right? And you probably must have read it somewhere on Google or in some other case, and if you don't have the name of the case, you're trying to find that case, then how do you do that? You might remember, yeah, there's a judgment somewhere which says, oh yeah, this is illegal. Then you go here, you type your search, illegal notice and non-service, and you enter this column of near each other. When you do that, your search results would go towards that. Now you will see that your judgments are only of those which are restricted to that extent of a service being illegal on account of non-service. And then let's say I want to find income tax judgments, because this is a very high proposition in income tax cases. So you again go into search of search. Now you find an exact judgment here where you've got your cases. I hope this allows you to understand what is the real basis and how do you find judgments, and to get a basic way of researching. So after we've understood this, my friends, it's all about researching and practicing. When you're trying to find something, go on Google, try to find it there. Don't find it, come to Manu Patra, even go to SCC. Use all the search engines that are there in your domain and find the judgment, spend time and be patient. First point. Now, this is the way to find a judgment where you don't have the citation of a case or you don't know the name of a case. But let's assume that you've read an article, you found a very relevant judgment, you want to go through it, you want to understand the judgment. How do you find a relevant judgment? Now on top, I showed you Manu search, which had those columns and according to a column search. When you go to legal search, which is just right above on the top screen if you can see, when you go to the legal research, you will be able to find the name of the party. Let's say I want to find the case of S. Goyanka, Lime and Chemicals, or let's say Keshwanand Bharti. Whatever the case may be, you put the name of the case and you enter search. When you do that, you will be able to find that exact case and all the cases with that name will come. So you will be able to narrow down your search to that relevant judgment, that relevant case which you're looking for. Now this was the first sub-search tool under the legal search. What is the second legal tool? It is an act search. When you've got a moot problem, in the moot problem itself, you will have laws which are applicable in your case. They will mention that to you for your own assistance, because to understand it better, how do you search that? let's say it's about Indian Penal Code. Now you've gone to Indian Penal Code. Once you do this, you will have 302, you will have the section, you will have a digest here, and you will have a judgments, a column and a log on saying judgments. Now you've got judgments of all courts. What can you do is, let's say if you're a real lawyer, we then see if a matter is before the Delhi High Court, we will try to find judgments of the Supreme Court and of the Delhi High Court. You find relevant judgments of that case, you find judgments of those relevant court, and you use it. So this is how you can narrow down your judgments, and you can utilize it in a manner which is favorable, and you can make your search selective. Let's say now you've got another judgment, you know the citation of the judgment, you might not know the case, or you will know the case, but you have the citation. So when you have a citation, you go to the citation, let's say it is SCC, right? So we go to SCC, we put that journal SCC. Now SCC also has a lot of journals, and you will learn that in times to come, that SCC supplementary are supplementary cases, SCC criminal are criminal cases, and so on and so forth. But let's say it's a normal SCC case, and let's say it's the case of 1973. Let's say you have, volume number 4. Let's say you know the whole citation, which is 1973 for SCC 225, right? And you know it's by the Supreme Court of India. You put all these columns, you enter search. Now you've got the judgment of Keshwanand Bharti, which you were looking for. And this is the manner in which you can find your judgments. In short, my friends, this is how a Manupatra search is done. And before I move to my next point, which is searching on SCC, I would like to ask anybody, if you've got queries, you can ask them in the chat box, and I would be more than happy to help you out. Simran Agarwal, a student, has asked that, sir, why have you wrote the words earlier in inverted commas in the research box? It is a very pertinent question, Simran, and thank you for asking this question. It is important to put it in quotes in Manupatra as well as in SCC. I will deal it when I go in SCC, because then it is restricted to exact those terms. Otherwise, being a search engine, it will find a variation of those words. And when you find a variation of those words, your search will be very wide. What your aim is, or what the art of researching is, to narrow down your queries. So that is why we put it in inverted commas. So any queries, or should I move ahead?
I think you can move ahead, sir. If I find some queries in the chat
I
box,
guess there are no queries. So I'll move ahead with the SCC points. I hope my screen's visible. If you could just say a yes in the chat box, I'll proceed with the SCC points.
Not yet, sir.
Devraj, if you could just tell me if my screen's visible, please.
No, sir, it isn't visible as of now.
Hello.
I think, sir, you cannot hear me.
Coming to the point of your SCC research. Just a second. I believe somebody's logged on to that account. Just a second. It's also important not just to search from one engine. You need to search from all the engines. You need to use all the resources that you have, because a lot of time, some cases are not there in the SCC. Some cases are only. While researching, you need to put your own cases. You need to put those. You need to research on Manupatra, and then use those cases. Take out those cases from SCC, because High Court and Supreme Court won't accept your judgments from Manupatra, because for the reason that they are not authentic and they're not direct to the. They're not a true copy. Whereas SCC online is a true copy. And to understand what is a true copy of a judgment is exactly that copy, which is a copy of the judgment which has been passed by the judge in a matter, in that very case. And it's an exact copy of that judgment, the same paragraphs, the same wordings, without any ado. And that is why, if you go to the High Court, you might even, or the Supreme Court, might even have to get a scolding if you put Manupatra judgments. So it's always better. And what I did as a law student was that I always researched everywhere, but only put judgments of SCC. Now, my friends, if my screen is there on your, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir, it is.
This is the main SCC page, right? When you log into SCC, you will be taken to this page where there's a word search, which is akin to a word search or a legal search, or a normal Manu search under Manupatra. Then you've got a search by case law by section when you've got a specific section, a case law by citation when you've got a specific citation, a case law by a party name when you've got a party name, by topic, and so on. Let's start with the first and foremost legal research that you have to do. It is your word search. But my friends, there is one very integral difference between Manupatra and SCC, which is the and or boolean search. In Manupatra, you don't need to put an and search or an or search. But in SCC, you got to do that. When you are doing a research under SCC, then you have to use the term and or, which would implicate something which is close. Using the same example of the Telegraph Act, right? And I say and illegal and tap and tapping. And if you can see here, my search has already gone into Boolean on its own because I've put the term and, or I can also use the term near.
I think sir is facing some technical issues. He'll be back in a minute.
Okay, so I would request every one of you to put forward some queries until Sir is rejoining, so we can at least discuss what you have learned up till now and what problems you are facing. So, any questions? I would also like to remind all of you that this is a 6 session masterclass. So we'll be having a day of drafting tomorrow and a day of oral representation day after tomorrow. So today was for research, tomorrow is for drafting, and day after tomorrow oral representations. So if you guys have any queries, I am happy to answer them, and sir will be joining in a few moments. Okay, so Harshit, the difference between Manupatra and SCC is essentially the platforms. It's no more different other than Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome. The sections are being recorded, and I think yes, you will get the recording. Okay, so coming back to Harshit, Manupatra and SCC, it depends on the choice. Like I am also a law student, I prefer to use Manupatra. Some students prefer to use SCC, but these two are the top-notch platforms which are used for legal research. So it is more presentable when you access these platforms and provide your judgments and legal research through these platforms rather than referring to Case Mine or Indian Qanun, because these are well respected platforms. There is no essential difference. They provide similar services. It's a matter of choice, but both of them are elite platforms. Any other questions? Okay, Harshit. You can talk to me regarding research in a moot competition in general. I'll be happy to answer those questions as well. What do you guys think composites a research in moot court competitions? If you guys have participated in moot court competitions before, you can talk about your experiences. Anyone who would be happy to share about their experience or anything related to research in moot court competitions? Okay, Sudarshan, which platform should we choose for citation for the best interest? As if you remember, a few minutes ago, Sir pointed out that on the top left corner of Manupatra, there is a citation Manu SCQH something something. So that is a Manupatra citation. That is not a valid citation. I think you should always either cite SCC citations or an AIR citation. Personally, AIR citations are the best. You just put the year, the journal number, the page number, and whether it's a Supreme Court or a High Court citation. I think you should always cite AIR or SCC, as Sir pointed out. Okay, Sir is back here.
Sorry for the glitch, people. I believe there was some network lag again. With the apologies for that. So, which citations to use? What platforms to use as a citation? See, Sudarshan, this is also a very pertinent question. In Manupatra as well as even in SCC, you should use journals which are reputed. Now, which are reputed journals? They are AIR, which is the All India Reporter, the SCC, the Supreme Court cases. In SCC also there are different for different high courts. There are different SCC journals. You can use that. But having a Manu citation or a citation by live law, which also Harshita, you can use a AIR citation as well. AIR citation is absolutely valid. Rather, AIR citation was the most authentic citation because even before we had a Supreme Court, we had a Privy Council. So in those times, there used to be judgments with the citation AIR to PC, which referred to Privy Council and so and so. So one more thing I would want to clear. When you read a citation, what is a citation, my friends? 1973 4 SCC 225. What is 1973? It is the year in which the judgment was passed. What is 4? 4 is the volume number. SCC is the journal. Now you will see journals of every year have a lot of volumes. Has a lot of volumes, 12 volumes, 13 volumes of a year, which you might see in your internships, those volumes of SCC in the hard copy. 4 SCC means volume 4 of 1973 SCC. What is 225? 225 is page number 225 of 4th volume of the SCC of the year 1973, where you would find this judgment. How to find this judgment? I will again take you back to Manupatra. Like this is Keshwanand Bharti. Here there is a Manu search. You found a case which is relevant to you. You click here, you will find equivalent citations. Here you will find this SCC citation. You will find a lot of citations, whatever are applicable. You can use the most authentic one, which is AIR or SCC or even SCR, which is Supreme Court records. So you can use that. In times to come, you will see that which one to use and how, but SCC is the best. And while doing it on SCC, while you make a research on SCC, how do you find the research? This is right here. This is your citation. Now, okay, but how to open a judgment? We found a judgment. Let's say this is a judgment which we wanted. How do we open the judgment? There is this column here. Just a second. There is some. Just a second. I've been logged out. I'm so sorry. Just a second. So sorry for the glitch, people. So let's say we found the judgment that we needed, right? I'll just open a judgment and show you.
Sir, your screen is not visible.
2 to 5, right? You wanted this judgment. We can also put the citation here as well directly, which will take you to the judgment. But here you will see, when I just put the citation, there will be a lot many judgments which will come. There are 7,513 judgments here. Why? Because they contain digest notes. They contain 7,000. Hello.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, is my screen visible now? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's visible now. Can you hear me now?
Perfect. So SCC, we've put, I'll just do that again. So here also, let's say 1973 4 SCC 2 to 5, right? You've got a citation. You can put a citation here as well. But when you put a citation in the main column, it will bring out a catena of other judgments. Now let's see how many search results do we get. We will get more than 7,513 judgments. 7,513 judgments. And it is not humanly possible that you can go through all of that and then find, because you will, in the midst of that, you will get lost. And how do you find the relevant? When you put a citation like this, you will get all the cases in which this specific judgment has been relied upon. Like this here, they've mentioned that the concept of separation of powers, even though so and so, they've relied on this case. We can click here, we can go to that judgment. Your question was how to find the citation. In Manupatra, like I mentioned, your citation can be seen from the term that comes on top. In SCC also, when you open a search, you will have a citation on top of it only, which will be right on your screen just in a minute. Yeah, so this is the Manu search. You go back to the case. Here there's a Manu citation. When you click here, you will be able to find different citations. You can use the citation which is relevant, which is the SCC one. SCC or AIR, if you find, that is the best citation to use. So from Manupatra, you can find a citation like this. In SCC, you yourself will find a citation in the case. It should be mentioned in the case as well. 1973 4 SCC 2 to 5. You've got the citation here, you've got the writ petition number here. But one point now I would like to come. Let's say this is the same judgment which we are reading. In Manupatra, you will be able to cut, copy, paste the paragraphs. Right? You can copy the paragraph from here and you can put it in your research. Can you do that in SCC? Answer is no. In SCC, you won't be able to do that. In SCC, you can't cut, copy, paste a paragraph. But then a real pertinent question arises, how do we then find out or keep a citation? Because we can't manually type the complete paragraph and save it for us. If you can see, let's say this is paragraph 209, you will see a column here, right? When you click on this column, there will be a tick, if you can see. This column has been ticked, right? I have chosen 2 paragraphs. And here on top, you will have all these options. I will take you through these options one by one. But let's say you just want specific paras to be copied. How do you do that? In Manu, you can copy. SCC, you choose the paragraph. When it's ticked, then you choose this first column of a smart copy, if you can see. When you choose a smart copy, there will be another column which open, another pop-up which opens, which will only have these 2 judgments, right? From here, you can download these judgments as well. Otherwise, it's also better to have them on your email, right? And these judgments would then come on your email directly, and you've got a record. So when you're researching, it's late night, you've read 50 cases, you don't want to keep a separate, you're not copying it down separately, then you can just send it on your mail, and on your mail, you will have a mail from SCC with the extracted data. From here, you can copy it down. Now, one thing to be noted here is, which I would also like to point out is, here it is page number 346, but the real citation of the judgment was 225. Why is it 346? Because, my friends, this para 209 is at page number 346. So the correct citation, which also people fail a lot of times to understand, is that you need to put as a citation when you're especially mentioning only a relevant paragraph. You mention 1973 4 SCC 225 at page 346. Now this is the correct citation. This is the correct way to also cite your cases anywhere, be it a court, be it in a moot court, because I would also like to suggest you that try to learn the best possible mechanism. Try to learn the best way in which it is done in courts, and not just in the lower court, but in the Supreme Court. When you practice and keep your activities and you practice in such a manner, you inbuild a natural corollary way, and your working also starts to be done in that way, which ultimately helps you later on in your future. And this I'm telling you out of sheer personal experience. So with that, I think this would be able to allow you to understand how to make a basic research in your case, how to research, and you can go on and ahead. Then you can again make a case law search by a section like you could do in the you could use that in what do you call in Manupatra, just like that. You can do that in SCC. You can find it by a citation. If it's a citation, you can put the citation. If you have a party name, you can, let's say, put a party name. I want to find the judgment. You put the name of the judgment here. It says Kuranka. Right, I would put this, I would get a lot of cases here. Now, these are the cases which I would want to find. I can directly go there. If I want to find the case by a topic, I can go there and I can find the case by a topic. So, in essence, this is research. These are the basics of research. But the main point, and which I would like to stress about, is that please research empathetically, research and read the whole case law, be smart, find the relevant portion first, see the relevant portion. When you've read the relevant portion, you've seen that the ratio descendi of the judgment is applicable in your case. Go through the entire judgment, note the facts, make a small note what the facts were in this case, what was decided, what are the relevant paras. When you keep that ready, 15, 20, 30 days later, whenever you need the case, or let's say when in real practice, you might even have to use a judgment which you take out today, 6-7 months later. And by that time, you will not exactly remember word by word what you've written. But when you make a small note like that, your research will solidify, and you can also narrow it down and save prepare a prepare a word chart for yourself. When you make a research on a specific point of law, when you've gone through hundreds of judgments, you can just make a table for your own future reference, which will always help you in the future. And the greatest of the greatest lawyers in our country, including Harish Salve, they've got books and books. They take out a section, they've got it flagged, section so and so, and they will have the latest and the landmark judgments on that count. So learn, these are methods you need to emphasize, you need to go on, and you need to bring out the best. When you keep on researching, that art of researching will develop in you, and it will help you understand good law. And only after researching can you point out good law, and only after understanding good law can you make good and effective submissions. So with that, I think if you have any other queries, I would be more than happy to solve them out for you. And thank you so much for the patient hearing. Thank you so much. Any queries, you can put them in the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, so I would like to thank Sankalp sir, even though he is not able to hear me, because of the curated and precise presentation he provided to all the students. And if none of you have queries, let's meet tomorrow in the drafting sessions of our masterclass, and we'll be happy to have you.
I'm absolutely grateful. I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I hope my friends could learn something, or I could just add some value addition. If I could, then I think I've done my job, and I'm more than happy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yashi. Thank you so much. Can I exit?